exactly like you left it. So I was asked to introduce our keynote speaker for lunch, David George Brooke, that gratitude guy. He's been a speaker, a teacher, a life coach, and best-selling author for over 25 years. He's a Nordstrom store manager and has managed in the corporate world for over 30 years. He is the author of Brooker's Daily Gratitude Journal, Happiness Starts with Gratitude, and Gratitude Nuggets to Chew On. He was recently featured on New Day with Margaret Larson on King TV and Chat with Women on KIXI Radio. With over 400 gratitude videos posted on YouTube, thousands have seen his message, and he is now considered a leading authority on gratitude and living a life of gratitude that can enhance and improve your life. So please join me in welcoming David George Brooke.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, John. Thank you, Tracy, for inviting me. Now, I know we're all still eating lunch, so we have a couple of things we're going to do in a little bit, but just bear with me if you will. By show of hands, how many people here have suffered a significant personal loss in your life? Wow, thank you. Wherever I go, I have the good fortune of speaking 2 or 3 times a week, and it can be groups as small as 5 or 10 people all the way up to close to 1,000 or sometimes over. No matter what size group it is, it's always about 80 or 90% of the people that raise their hand to that question. And I will tell you my personal significant loss that happened to me. It was September 29th, 1998. It was a Tuesday. I woke up and I looked over to my right, and my wife wasn't there. About 6 in the morning, she was usually there. And I woke and I thought to myself, I wonder where Dana is. Just then, Connor, my little 4-year-old, comes in. Same question. Where's Mom? I don't know. Let's find her. Kyle, my 14-year-old, walks in from his bedroom. We can't figure out where she is. So we look in a couple of rooms, and we walk down the hallway, and we look down in the laundry room, and here she is, face down in front of the washer and dryer. She's all curled over. We both, all 3 of us, go rushing down there, and we know something is wrong, but we're not sure what. I turn her over, and she's got stuff coming out of her mouth. Kyle, I said, go call the police, call fire, call whoever you can. Connor starts crying. He's the 4-year-old. What's wrong with Mommy? I take her out there, I start doing CPR, and within a matter of just a few minutes, there must have been 15 to 25 people in our house. Medics, fire, police, everybody. And they got all these wires and tubes and these paddles, and they're doing that electric thing, and her chest is bumping up in the air. It's the most surrealistic thing I'd ever experienced in my life. I think the only time I'd ever seen something like that was on TV. They kept working on her. And for those of you that have gone through something like this, of this nature, something that's this traumatic, you get numb and you kind of go into shock. But there's even a part of your body that somehow knows how time is passing. So I didn't know how much time had passed. This little short fire person comes over to me and says, Mr. Brooke, we've been working on your wife for an hour and a half. We still don't have a heartbeat. Would you like us to continue? And even in that numb state, my mind still computed 90 minutes, no heartbeat. I thought about it for a second, and I thought never before in my life that I had to make a life and death decision for somebody. And I said, no, you can stop. And she was dead. She was 38 years old. And what had made it so challenging, I asked all of you fine folks if you suffered a significant personal loss, 80, 90% of you raised your hand. Not only had I lost my wife, but before that, my father had killed himself. He's an attorney in Seattle. I got to see him in court a number of times. Phenomenal attorney. I don't know what went haywire, but something happened. My mom had suffered some depression, bipolar, manic depressive, I think it's termed now, or bipolar now. She died of cancer. I graduated from Queen Anne High School, which is no longer on the hill. It's now condos, I think. But the night I graduated, my best buddy and his brother had this really horrific car crash and got burned and they both died. It just went on and on and on. And I remember thinking back then, along these different losses, what am I going to do here? How am I going to cope with this? And within about 2 or 3 days after Dana passed away, people come to your house, it's great. They bring food, they try to help, they don't know what to say. I can always tell by the nodding head. That's why I'm not a big fan of PowerPoint. I like to be able to look at people and you can see the eyes. I'm the one that's fortunate enough up here to tell the story, how I was able to survive, but I can watch people and tell they've been through very similar, in many cases worse. It doesn't matter. It's a tough thing to deal with. But you think, how are you going to get through this? So I walk up to the deck. Family and friends have been there 2 or 3 days later. And I can remember like 2 seconds ago pinching my skin and going, I'm just a guy. Skin and cartilage and bone. And I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. Connor can't stop crying. What am I going to do? My wife's gone. And I looked up to this sort of semi-blue sky. We live in Seattle. Probably a few clouds. And for the first time in my life, I understood why people kill themselves. And I just looked out there and I just thought I was all by myself. Everybody else was down in the house. And I thought about it for 5 minutes. And I thought, nope. I made a decision right then. I'm not going to do that. We lived by Green Lake. The Aurora Bridge wasn't very far away. You just walk over to the bridge and jump off. Pretty simple. You're out of your pain. But I wasn't going to do it. Connor 4, Kyle 14. They're going to need a dad. Their mom is already gone. But I really realized a lot of it depends on how you look at something. It really comes back to how you look at it. You can go left and right in the road, or the T in the road. You can have a bad attitude, a good attitude. When I talk later about gratitude, one of the things I talk about that gratitude does for you, it focuses you so much on what you have versus what you don't have. We talk about all the time what we don't have. They've got a better car, they've got a better spouse, they got a better job. It's just crazy. We forget to really focus on what we have, the blessings in our life. So as I really started to move through this, I realized again, it was back to how you use something. Now we've heard the glass half full and so forth, so trying to respect the fact you're still in lunch, but I'd like you to all stand up for a second if you would. And I just want you, again, I know you're still eating, you can finish eating in a second, but it's always good to get stretched out. So I just want you to take your right hand, right arm, right hand, and stretch it up and start turning it in a clockwise manner. Now, as you'll note, there's no clocks here, so if anybody is uncertain, there's a clock face, because we're a digital world now. So keep it going clockwise. Try not to hit your neighbor. Everybody's going clockwise. Now start bringing it slowly down, keeping it going clockwise. Out to your forehead, your eyes, your nose, your chin, and down to your stomach. Now what direction is it going? Counterclockwise. Okay, you can sit down. Thank you. Now when you get a good-sized group, you can look around. This is my favorite part. There's all, and then they go back up again. And they go, how did I turn? When did I stop and go? See, look at this. This particular corner of the room, I'm loving over here. Okay, guys, we have to move forward. That's a serious topic. I was fortunate enough to go to college and graduate from the University of Washington. I have some buddies of mine that have masters and PhDs, and one of them in particular, a PhD, comes up, sees one of my talks one day and goes, "Hey, Brooker, what's with this circle thing? How does that work? Did they change? What did they do?" I said, "No, it's because when you look at it from above and below, one is clockwise, one is counterclockwise." "Oh, okay, now where did you get that PhD? Was that online or something?" I mean, it's how you look at it. We do the glass half full, the glass half empty. This is just another way to illustrate that. So that was that, and I have others that I do on that. But what also, the thing with Dana had died of a prescription pill overdose. Vicodin and Oxycontin. We'd met at Nordstrom some years before. And all that stuff is so nasty. But what happened with me, to compound everything I just told you, we also lost our house, I had a business, we lost everything, and I had to move in with a friend. So I don't know how you can get much lower than that. And so often in these talks, I want to explain to people, this is what I experienced, but you know what I want you to come away with is how it can help you when you've gone through tough times. Again, I'm the person that gets to be up here talking. But it was pretty tough. And I realized I'm going to have to figure out a way back. Gratitude had started to be a factor, but not completely at that point. But I realized there's a couple of key elements. I'm going to talk about 5 things today. When I wrap it up, I'll just recap. And the first one is embracing gratitude. I'm the gratitude guy, that gratitude guy, that's my thing. I see it as a phenomenally healthy coping mechanism in a world of all these dangerous, deadly, destructive ones like pills and you name it. Of the 15, 20, 25 people I lost in my life, half of them, I'd say, were of their own hand. Suicide, pills, it's just nonsense. I noticed on the east side the other day, they had a little thing in the paper, burglaries in Bellevue, Issaquah, the places where there's lots of money. The cops come in, the doors busted, the laptops, all that stuff's still there, and they can't figure out what the story is. And they go in the medicine cabinets around. And I remember when Dana, I'd never seen a person handcuffed before. She was arrested for prescription fraud. Tall, really pretty, blonde. Our first date was running Green Lake. Somebody who was phenomenal, you'd never guess it. And that was a huge thing, prescription fraud. But then she has to go to detox. She goes 3 different times. But about halfway, I'd say a few months short of the last time, Dr. Dickinson was his name. He calls me and he says, I need to talk to you about your wife. You and your 2 boys, and let you know what you're up against. And he says, it's visiting time, and he shows me the people over here, and they try to make me feel better. And people always come up and talk to me afterwards and tell me I've been through the same thing. He's a doctor, she's an attorney, he's a fireman, you know, and they're all addicted to something. And I said, well, I feel bad, but I'm really concerned about the tall blonde guy over to the right. Yeah, I know that's why you're here, but I'm going to tell you what you're up against. 1 in 20 will make it back to a normal life. And of the 19 that don't, half of them will be dead in the next 6 months. And Dana died about 4 or 5 months later. So when I realized that, there wasn't much I could do except hang on and be the best dad possible, even though I had to start all over again. But I realized that one of the concepts we have to get is embracing gratitude. Second concept, it takes as long as it takes. Don't ever, ever, ever give up. That's Winston Churchill. No matter how many times you hear that, I don't think you can hear that enough about not giving up. Now I'm 63 years old. I know I don't look a day over 62. But I was going to be a speaker when I was 19. That was 44 years ago. I didn't know what I was going to be speaking about, but I just knew someday I was going to be a speaker. But I kept at it. So Kyle was 14, as I mentioned. He struggled, but Connor really struggled at 4. At 4 and a half, preschool people came to me and they said, and here we are in a room full of teachers. And I love teachers, not love teachers and everything we're trying to do. Your son's got real problems. He's messed up. She's kind of rude about it. We need to do an assessment. So I went and did an assessment. Gosh, 6, 7 hours. Connor's still not himself. It hasn't been that long since Dana passed away. Well, he's all this and that, so they're bouncing balls and gross motor and fine motor and all this kind of thing. It's 5 or 6 hours after it was done, she says, have him go wait over there. We want to talk to you. So they sit me down and they say, he's got all sorts of problems. She listed them this long. And he's messed up. I kept hearing he's messed up. I said, his mother just died 6 months ago. I'm a mess myself. What do you expect? Yeah, he's going to need this. And I said, well, you know what? I said, I was a decent athlete in my life. And he's going to go to Roosevelt High School someday, and he's going to be the starting quarterback. And she starts laughing. Yeah, no. And I said, well, she says, he's going to have trouble in life, much less school. So I went back, got in the car, Did about the only thing I could do. I just burst out into tears. I couldn't stop crying. Of course, that made it worse. Daddy, why are you crying? But we went home. I tried to do the best. I held him back in first grade. I felt that was the right thing to do. But he wanted to play baseball. I said, Connor, you can't give up. Your dad's not going to give up. Kyle's not going to give up. We're going to get through this thing. I may be fortunate to take a message to other people. I don't even know what the message is. I'm going to take it to people. I kept telling him, you can't give up. So he tries to play baseball. Now, I'm just going to guess it's a high number. How many people here are parents? Once again, thank you. High number. So if you're familiar, the first thing is T-ball. For the non-parents, there's a T and there's a ball. The ball does not move. The ball just sits here. Connor can't hit it. And he'd take the bat. This is my darling little boy. Kyle was a good athlete. And he'd swing like a foot over. I go, no, lower. Dad, I'm doing the best I can. But just stick with it. So then he hits the tee. The ball falls off, goes forward. Got to hit. I don't think that's the concept, Connor. But then it was coach pitch, and it was through all the different things, and he struggled. Couldn't run, couldn't hit, couldn't throw, couldn't catch. Other than that, he wasn't too bad. Finally, we get to May 31st, 2005. He's been trying for like 9 or 10 years. Doesn't play. I go to all the practices and the games. I try to be the best dad I can. Trying to do the best I could with Kyle. It's the bottom of the 7th, May 31st, 2005. 2 guys are out. There's a guy in second and third. They're down 7-6, bottom of the 7th, last inning. Oh, I thought, oh man, that's okay. I look, oh boy, guess who's coming out of the dugout? Of all times. Good Lord. Now, none of the other kids look at their parents. You notice that? And they want you to be there, but they don't want you to know that you're there, and they don't want their friends to know, Connor, hey, Dad, I'm up. Connor, just concentrate. So I step back, and I do the only thing that seemed logical at the time. How about a walk? Hit by a pitch, something. Guys throw pretty fast at that age. Ball 1, ball 2, striking. Full count. Next pitch comes in. Connor rips it down the third base line. Rips it down the third base line, just inside the bag, goes into left field. The guy from third comes in, scores. The guy from second rounds third comes in. Here comes the ball, here comes the guy, here comes the catcher. The guy catches it, they all crash at the plate, the ball pops out. Yeah, thank you. They went 8-7. Connor is standing by himself on second base, same thing. Dad! Got that hit! Even as this is 9-10 years ago now, the entire dugout runs out to second base, puts him on their shoulders, carries him. I couldn't talk for a good hour. But when I got him home, Kyle was there too. I sat him down on the bed and I said, Connor, it was never, ever, ever about baseball. It was about the fact you could never give up. And you never did. And hopefully I set a good example. Dana, may she rest in peace, had her battles with prescription pills, etc. But you never gave up, and neither did Kyle. So he went on to Bothell High School. And I know this is a big group, and so this is a small picture. But that's his graduation picture last year at 19 years old. And he was the starting pitcher on the baseball team. So I think what happens is, what takes people to get them to a point where they don't give up and other people do? And I don't know if we'll ever know the answer. This gray matter, when I get to the gratitude journal, which is the centerpiece of so many things I talk about, it's focusing on what you have. There's times I talk about, I'm so blessed to have this gray matter between my ears that managed to make me not give up and keep going forward. Some people do, some don't. We have siblings, families, friends, fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters that have died from different things. And it was life may have just been too much. But this is just, again, another example of how you can think about, if you keep pushing forward, good things will happen. I truly believe everything happens for a reason. I don't think everybody realizes that or believes that, but I do. And I think that one example for me is that when I was growing up, long before my mother and father died, every time we get in a fight, there's 5 of us, we had to hug each other. It just made me sick. And what made me sicker is we had to say, I love you. So my brother Rob used to beat the out of my face because he was older than me, and he put his shoulders, his knees on my shoulders, pound my face in. Right? I looked like a prize fighter. And then Mom would come in, oh, you're fighting. And she'd think it was my fault. David, you need to hug Robbie and say you love him. And he'd be over there smirking. Well, unfortunately, I passed him up later, and he just got taller and bigger, thank goodness. But I couldn't stand it. But I had to do it all the time. And so years later, many, many years later, my mother gets cancer and dies. We were very young back then. And on the day she died, the hospice nurse, so I mentioned she had this manic depressive, and she was also died of cancer. The lady's holding her head. My mom takes her last breath, age 17. She says she's gone. Rodney, David, Jimmy, Tony, Gina, the 5 of us were all there. We all started crying simultaneously. I had the support of Rob, Jim, Don, Gina, and I was the 5th. And all of a sudden, all those hugs made sense, and that was 20 plus years earlier. And I realized why she had us do that. Because it would have been so much tougher to do that without her, or without them, I should say. And that's why I think, again, something like this makes such a big difference, where you have something you can share. In the case of a journal, a good friend, we're going to do a couple of things, or I want you to share things in a second. But what I find so interesting, though, I'm going to do this with Michael. I don't know, I just don't understand sometimes why we're so resistant. We all have people, I've got something for you. Now, if one person walks away today and says, I'm going to write a gratitude journal, I'm happy. But we're resistant when we say, here's something that can help you, whatever it might be. So I go over to Michael over here, and I say to Michael, put your hand up if you would. And I saw somebody do this, I thought it was so cool. Why does he keep pushing back? I didn't tell him to push back. But he did, and he actually liked that one, that was cool. And I don't understand when it's just something you're off and you push. 99 out of 100 people will just keep pushing back. I didn't say anything, I said put your hand up. But that's what they'll do. And so when you have people that can offer up something, as I keep saying, as a healthy coping mechanism versus a negative one, it might be something you want to kind of check out and try. So what I want to do is something very, very quickly. Nobody's going to come up on stage. I've never liked presentations, and I'm not prepared to come up on stage. But I want to give you just 2 minutes, and I want you to pick a partner, and I just want 2 minutes each share one thing that happened to you in your life that you felt happened for a reason, and maybe you got the reason later. So just one thing that happened to each one of you. Share, I'll give you 2 minutes, and then we'll come back up here.
But
partners. And then sometimes in certain places I go, they tell you to change partners and all that kind of thing, which is fine. But unfortunately, without having roving mics, this is too big of a room to have the people maybe share it. But hopefully you just experienced an example of something. Not everybody believes that, but I have many, many examples where I saw something. Many people here ever seen the Steve Jobs commencement speech from Stanford, 2005? A few. It's phenomenal. About 15 minutes long. 5 minutes on his upbringing, 5 minutes on Apple, and about 5 minutes on his cancer, which he had beat at the time, and then later, unfortunately, he succumbed to. But during those center 5 minutes, he said something I never forgot. He said you can connect the dots backwards, but you cannot connect them forwards. We don't know what's going to happen. We look forward, and we can see why something happened a year ago, a week ago. That one with my mom and my brother, it took me 15 or 20 years to get that message. So hopefully you guys, ladies, women, and shared something that has an example. I think the next thing that I realized, embrace gratitude. It takes as long as it takes. Don't ever give up. Next thing, you've got to make room for gratitude. You've got to get rid of this junk. We got a lot of junk up here. And I noticed that Dr. Dickinson, something he told me, that 1 in 20 stuck with me the rest of my life. And even managing Nordstrom stores and doing different things, I always noticed this. That's 5%. You'd ask 20 people to do something, it seemed like one person did it. I send out 20 emails, I get one response. People go, maybe you're not, you know what I mean? I'm not quite sure why that is the case, but I noticed that, and so I kept talking about this when I managed those stores. I was saying to Bob and Mary, I managed a store over at Yakima. That's where I started, and I went on to Tacoma and then on to North Cape, these bigger stores. But I got so frustrated when people wouldn't do what they said. I'm the store manager, I'm supposed to be the one that was in charge. So I'd say the 1 in 20, and I'd say to people, you know, did you ever heard this? If you want to change your life, change your life. What a concept. You know, well, I'm going to start doing that, Mr. Brooke. Whatever, that's fine. But I kept talking about this all the time. I talked about it for a long time. And I had this employee that worked for me once, and she said, I'm going to be the one. I'm not going to, and I'd ask people too. I probably won't ask you today, but I'd say to people, do you want to be the one or do you want to be one of the 19? I just figure everybody's going to raise their hand that's going to be the one. Say, how many people here want to be the one? It's about half. Okay, thank you. Folks can all leave. And the other half, what's your story? You're going to be one of the 19? That's okay. I mean, I would automatically say one. So Tracy kept saying to me, I'm going to be the one. I said, okay. And then she had kind of a tough life, so then she got pregnant, or just, she might have been an exotic, I don't know. There was something that wasn't right about her. Oh, God bless her. But she says, I'm going to have my baby, and I'm going to move to Texas. This is up here in Washington. I'm going to have my mom take care of it. I thought, well, good for her. So she moves to Texas. Frankly, I forget about it. She calls me one day about a year or so later, and she goes, Dave, Tracy, and I had to put 2 and 2 together again. She goes, I want you to know I'm the one. I'm not the 19. And it all came back to me, because I've heard this over and over again. She goes, I changed my life. You said, if you want to change your life, change your life. So she was the one to listen. That was cool. And she says, I had my baby. What's his name? Johnny. He was like 2 or 3 months old or something like that. And she says, and you know what's not quite as good, but second to having my baby? I met the man of my dreams. I said, good for you, Tracy. What's his name? His name's Ray. I remember this very clearly. What's Ray do? Well, he's on work release right now. And I just remember thinking, oh, good Lord. I said, well, you know, he gets a job. But I don't know if that's really changing your life. Is that the influence you want? So one of the things I talk about is in order to get ready to receive gratitude, so we can talk about a gratitude journal and getting it into our heads and programming our brains in a much better way, we've got to get rid of the junk. So what I'd like you to do is you got a piece of red paper there on the paper. Now I apologize, I had halves and I had to cut them in half. Jim, my capable assistant, was out here cutting them with scissors. And so if everybody could get a red paper, and hopefully, does everybody have a pen? If not, I've got some extra pens up here. Everybody with red paper and pen? Anybody know? Hands? Okay. So here's the story on the red paper. There's a couple reasons why you have red paper. No other color will work for this little exercise. Red paper does a couple of things. Number one, when you write on it, it's pretty difficult for your neighbor to see what you've written. And what you're about to write, you don't want your neighbor to see. I'll tell you the second reason in a minute. Now, I don't want to lead the witness, but typically when I do this exercise, you don't hear a lot of sound. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and here's what you're going to do. Reset. As best you can in priority order, I want you to write down every mistake, regret, pile of junk decision you made that you are so upset with yourself you can't even stand it. And do it as best you can. Think you got exactly 2 minutes. I needed 20 minutes. I'm a little different. But you got 2 minutes. Go and write them down. Every mistake, misstep, regret, you name it. 2 minutes. About 30 seconds. And stop. Many people ask me, can I have more time? And so possibly that'll be on your own dime, though. Again, depending on the size of the group, I've seen people that just look at me, I have nothing to write, and I want to be their life. I need, as I said, 20 minutes, and I'm not sure that was even enough. And then there's other people that just still write, can I please write more? So I mentioned red paper. This is junk. This stuff that you've written down is junk. And it's kind of like somebody gave me an analogy once. It's like you drive over something in your car, and then you take it from behind you and put it in front of you and drive over it again. That was a pretty good analogy, I thought. So red paper. Your neighbor can't see it, but there's another big thing, and that is when we go to a stoplight, green does what? Go, thank you. Red is what? Stop, thank you. Stop. You got to stop with this nonsense. You got to get rid of it. It's junk. Just like those pills are junk. So this is a good-sized group, so I can't do this quite as much as I would like to, but I've got another idea for that. You have 30 seconds soon on my signal, and we're going to find out who the best in this room is somehow. I'll figure it out later. To rip that into as many pieces as you can. Go. Many pieces. Ten seconds in, 20 to go. We're on a limited time frame, many as you can. 20 seconds, 10 seconds left. And stop. Put your paper down. So what I normally do, I do different size groups. I'll often have a book for the one that has the most pieces of any given table. This is a huge group here. But let me warn you about something before we go any further. A little caveat here. Watch your neighbor. I've seen people try to put them together for the person that's next to them when they weren't looking. They're trying to like piece, I'm not kidding, they're trying to piece it together. What did she write? What did he write? I sure want people to know on my behalf. So you can leave them in front of you, and then after I'm done, anybody's interested in a book or a journal, I've got some business cards and things here. If you feel your pile is the most, bring it up, I'll get you a book. But it's so important to get rid of this stuff. Now here's another thing too. Everybody spontaneously point to yourself. Just point to yourself. Okay. Thank you. Now, I can see the room pretty clearly from here. Almost every single person is doing this. Now I think, my feeling is they're pointing to their heart. Heart is where things, we get this brain up here, the CPU, but I think most people point to their heart, because that's where a lot of things are driven in our life, if not everything. You had a group the other day, I saw this. And then this is my favorite. He's actually looking at cross-eyed. But that's my way of reminding people that I think these feelings start in their heart, which is a perfect way to move in to the next subject, which is a gratitude journal. Module number 4, thought number 4. How many people here have ever heard of a gratitude journal? Whoa, that's great. This corner of the room, I'm very excited about. Not to get anything wrong here, but not only are they still doing this 5 minutes later, but a higher per capita have heard of a gratitude journal over there. How many have ever heard of a journal? Pretty much. How many have ever seen a journal? Okay, that's it. Well, I had a very good friend of mine. I was struggling for a long time, and I really, as I said, I have a lot more death and trauma and destruction. I don't like to get into it too much, other than to say these shoes walked in this, and this isn't just a book I teach from, and I found this book, and this is what it is, but I've walked down this road. And you can't walk in each other's shoes, but you can walk in a parallel path and have an idea. And I remember when Dana passed away, oh gosh, I know how you feel, no you don't. You know, is there anything I can do? Yeah, I can bring her back. And I had Connor at the funeral, and I told him like this, he was 4, as I mentioned, and a person came up and said, I know how you feel, we once lost a puppy. So there's always the people that don't quite get it, and that's fine, it's okay. But there are ways to deal with these things, and this buddy of mine says, you should get a gratitude journal. Well, I didn't know what it was, and so this is mine, I hadn't done this yet. So I went on Amazon and I bought a gratitude journal, and I got it, and I did what a lot of people do, which irritated me. I just put it on the shelf and didn't touch it for 3 months. Anybody ever done that? Thank you for being honest. But then one day I started writing in it. So grateful for this, I'm so grateful for that. And it started to change things. This was no pill, this wasn't a drink, it wasn't smoking. I've been fortunate to never smoke or dope or coke and all this nonsense that's out here. But it started to change things. I started to see things happen. So I decided I'm going to develop my own, the Brooker's Daily Gratitude Journal. And I wanted to add a couple of things from the journal I found. And I came up with a little saying, because people all the time say to me, well, this gratitude journal, how long does it take? 7.5 minutes it takes to write this thing. I've timed it tons and tons of times. Because you know what the youth say today? You guys are, some of you are youth too. You have an app. And actually the funny thing is, and I have it, up there where my phone was, I'm using it to time it. I'm so grateful for Michael's wonderful introduction. I'm so thankful to Tracy and John and the many people invited. Types it up. Just types it. It's not the same though. It's not the visceral feeling. It's not this thought in the CPU to the heart you all just pointed at, down the arm, the hand, the pen, to writing it. I am so grateful for this and whatever it might be. I just think it makes such a big difference. That's why we took notes in school. That's why we didn't just sit and listen to the professor and think, I'll get it all test time. It's something you got to plan it up here. So, as I noticed that things happening with this, the way I realized this was going to make a difference is, if you think about it, it's like a dream. If you talk about it, it inspires you. But if you write about it, it empowers you. That's what it does. And it makes such a big difference. In this particular journal I did, it says, gratitude today, on the left-hand side, day, date, and daily number. Day, November 16th. Daily number, this is what the daily number is. Every day you assign yourself a number. 10 is one of the best days of your life. 1 may be one of the worst. You just think about what that number is. You can anchor in on that day. If it's a good number, you can go back later and read it and see what was so good about it. If it's a lower number, you can think, what did you do to get out of that funk or whatever. Continuing down here, current events and special occasions. Just 2 lines. That's so you don't have to have a journal or diary. Do it all right here. I'm so grateful for. Now, I have my journal over here. I write it every day. But you have to write it every line. You can do big lines. It doesn't matter. But you write what you're grateful for, and then the highlight of your day in the lower left-hand corner. Now, here is what has distinguished this from a few others I've seen. The right-hand side is called Gratitude Tomorrow, otherwise known as your gratitude intentions. You write down there what you're grateful for, about what's going to happen that hasn't even happened yet. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what's happened and what it thinks it's going to happen. You can program it to go in the direction you want. So here's what I'd like to do. There's some white pieces of paper on the table, and hopefully there's enough of those. If not, hopefully the red is all torn out, so you don't have that. So we're going to do a little exercise on this, but I'd like to get your paper ready to roll. I guess it looks like everybody's got a pen. You just white paper. You're just going to write 2 or 3 sentences. But before we start, I would like to poll the audience if I could. 10, best day of your life. 1, worst day, and every day in between. So no halves at this point. Just pick a whole number. So get that number where you are right now. Just sort of plan it for now. Now, if you're a 1 to 5, sorry. Sure. 10, one of the best days of your life. 1, one of the toughest days. So just pick out that number. Where am I? Am I 5, 6, 7, wherever. It's very personal. That's why you don't have to worry about your neighbor. This is just you. So everybody gets your number, and I just want to see, just kind of watch the hand when we do it. So if you're a 1 to 5, I'm sorry.
What is today?
Right, at this very moment. The chart, this very moment. So if you're a 1 to 5, we're going to raise our hands in a second. I don't want you to raise your hand. I don't want to embarrass anybody that's having a tough day or anything like that. But let's just go through this stuff. So everybody's got their number. Good. How many people are a 6? Okay. How many are 7? Pretty good chunk of 7s. How many are 8s? Okay. 9s. Okay. 4, 5, 6, 7. And any 10s? One lady. My talk is now done. You now may leave. Okay. So remember how you raised your hand, of course. Here's what I'd like you to do. And I'm going to just give you a minute or 2. First thing I want you to write down on that white piece of paper is what, if you can only pick one thing, what are you most grateful for in your life? It can be a word, it can be a sentence, a person. Just write down what if you could only pick one, what would that be you're most grateful for? I'll give you about 30 seconds to think about it.
Today?
Right at this moment. This is all present time. Some of you are so speedy, you like look up here and ready for the next thing. All right. Those are quick. Second thing. What is the second most grateful thing you have in your life? You're most grateful for. You can pick one, you wrote it. The second thing, what would that be? Write that down. Bless you. All right. Third and last thing. Now it's about, I think it's about 1 o'clock or something. So this could be this morning, or it could be yesterday. Just write down what was the highlight of your day. What was the best thing that happened to you yesterday, maybe this morning, or yesterday? Just write that down. So those of you that are finished, I want you just to silently, just reread those three things. Just make sure they're really planted in your brain. Most grateful, second most grateful, and what the highlight of your day was. Okay? All right, now, we're going to try this again on the daily number. 1 to 5, you're having a tough day, don't raise your hand. Now, how many people are 6? It's gone down quite a bit. How many are 7s? Okay. This is after reading what you just wrote. Okay, shall we start again? So you all remember your number the first time. Now you have written down what you're most grateful for, second most grateful for, and what the highlight of your day was. I'm hoping the number may have changed. We're not sure. You're my favorite person so far. How many are 6s? Just a couple. Yes, down quick. 7s. Okay. 8s. Pretty good number. 9s. Okay, now just notice the difference in 9s. And do we have any more 10s? Thank you so much. I'm done. It's all over. I appreciate it. 9 times out of 10, not 10. 9 times out of 10, that works. The idea is, I talk about to be grateful for what you have in your life, not what you don't have. When you write down what you're grateful for and what you're second most grateful for, what the highlight of your day is, I'm amazed. We talked about how many people here are parents when I was talking about Connor. Seeing my grandchild, seeing my child, my husband doing this, my wife doing this. It's amazing. We lose track of that, and that's why it's so easy to get down this path of woe is me. And again, I have as easy a case, or as good a case, I should say, as anybody feeling sorry for myself, and I refuse to. Same way I said I'm not going to go jump off that bridge. It's ridiculous. We've got choices here. We have choices in our life. And how you frame it, and this little baby will do it a lot of the time. Now, I will tell you, I will give you a very personal example with me on this journal. I just asked you to be honest about your numbers. I woke up one day, and I was at 2. I'm one of the more, I try to slow myself down because I talk so fast. I'm a pretty high energy guy and so forth, always have been. But I was really depressed. My mother, as I mentioned, had been manic depressive, now bipolar. When I was in high school, she would call me, and in college, and she would take this bottle of pills and she'd shake it by the phone and go, these are all sleeping pills. I will take these and kill myself and let you come over and see me. And she'd shake it, just like that. And gosh, I was working at the university bookstore. I had to leave the bookstore. Mr. Gallup, I need to leave. My mom isn't feeling good. And I have to drive over. And I said, what do you say to somebody who wants to kill themselves? I'm 19 years old. I don't know. But I thought, dang it, that wasn't very nice to do. Just shake it like that. So I did think I got some of that manic depressive. I don't think I got the manic. Some of my friends would disagree. But I definitely got the depressive thing. And so I remember thinking about that day when I was depressed. I thought, you know what you better do? You better get up. You better grab your gratitude journal. You better run down to Starbucks. You better write in it right now. I didn't want to do it in my own house. So I drove down to Starbucks. I'm so grateful for Connor. I'm so grateful for my health. I'm so grateful for Kyle. I'm so grateful we have a roof over our head. We almost been out in the street after we lost everything, including all my business. Everything was gone. All the money was gone because of those doggone pills. Everything. At least things were back in the right direction. So I was about a 4 or 5. Then I drive up to Burlington, Washington, to do there's a Rotary or Chamber, I forget. About 150 people. Neat group of people. So after it was done, these people come up to me, and this lady's crying. She says, can I hug you? She says, my name is Janice. And I said, my name is David. She goes, I was just listening when I saw that. And she goes, you just changed my life. And I remember thinking how neat it felt to hear that, but I don't really think I've changed anybody's life. I've just given them the tools to maybe cope with it better, to navigate it better. But I said, can I ask you why? Well, one of your stories, very personal to me. This has given me a way to deal with this as well. So she got a couple journals and told me about her kids and some things, but she kept kind of wiping the tears away. So I got in my car. I lived in Bothell at the time, and I was driving back, and went, oh my gosh, I'm a 9 now. I'd gone from a 2 to a 5 to 6 to a 9. Didn't take one drink, one pill, one drug, whatever. And I think about this, and this was my mom or Dana, Vicodin, all this kind of stuff. It's everywhere, but it's not a very good option, and it can kill you, as it did in my case. But I'm in my car driving back, and I'm always curious if you ever wonder, if you think who's your best friend in the world, who you're closest to. Well, I'll tell you one way to tell. Who do you call when you get the best or worst news? It's one of the ways to know if you're not really sure. So I wanted to call Connor, then I wanted to call Kyle. You're not going to believe this lady just said I changed her life. But instead, I just put this big smile on my face, and just driving down the road smiling. I'm a 9, leaning towards a 9.5. I've been a 2 that morning. That's how powerful the gratitude journal can be, changing somebody's life and so forth. And it did something that I was kind of embarrassed about, but all right. I was running this Lowe's home improvement. And I turned in the mirror and I looked at myself and I went, I'm so proud of you. God. You know what my day was? Where are the hammers and nails? What does that have to do with anything? This gal Janice, I think I altered her course in life. How cool is that? But that's what this can do for you. And it makes such a difference. I get to do radio every so often, as Michael said in the intro. They always say, for some reason on radio, what's one thing that people can take away from your talk? I said, just one thing would be this. Just try it. It doesn't have to be mine. Get this viral. I don't care if those white pieces of paper. Just try it and see what will happen. I've had people say, it's okay. This is okay. Yeah, I'll say it doesn't lay really flat really well. That's fine. One excuse is as good as the next. Get a spiral then. They lay flat. I'll work on the next version. I'm sorry. I probably have about 15, 20, 25 of these now. They last about 3 months. So that's the power of a gratitude journal. And that's why I just wanted you to see that little exercise. So I'm going to talk about a few more things, and then we're going to wrap up with the last thing. But I do want to tell you one thing, that as teachers, I do a lot of work in corporations now and businesses. And so with their first question, what does your gratitude thing have to do with business? So whether we're teachers, talking to students, business people, owners, directors, managers, whoever they are, with employees, I'll tell you what it has to do with it. It's pretty hard to be grateful for your employees when you're not grateful for yourself. We've always worked for people, not always, but I worked for a lot of them that were kind of knuckleheads, not the best managers. And I always wondered why they're so mad at me when clearly they don't have a very good relationship with themselves. If they got more grateful for themselves, maybe it would make a difference. Well, 30 years ago, the top 3 things people wanted in a job, the surveys said everywhere, were appreciation and recognition, help with personal problems, and being in on the know. That little inside thing. Well, those things have all dropped. The newest survey was about a year or so ago. I saw health and personal problems all have dropped down. Appreciation recognition was still there. But you know what the top 3 things are now? Purpose was number 1. Responsibilities was number 2. And goals were number 3. You see people all the time walk away from these big money jobs and need to go work with nonprofits and charities and Wikipedia and everything because they want to make a difference. And I noticed where I've done workshops and done something similar to the red paper or the gratitude page example. You watch what happens, better engagement, lower turnover. In fact, where was it I had it? They had I don't even think I have it on here. They had a survey where 10% of the people were engaged, 30% didn't care, and the other 20% roamed the halls, spreading discontent everywhere. God, that drunk guy's not like to work for. I didn't understand it. So, something to keep in mind, it isn't just in our personal life, it follows through to our business life. All right, so last thing I want to talk about today, I want to wrap up on. Embracing gratitude, I mentioned hopefully clearly. It takes as long as it takes, don't ever, ever, ever give up. Make room for gratitude, clear out that brain, get rid of that stuff. Get a gratitude journal. Trust me, it works. I have many, many examples I don't have time to share today, but I will tell you it's so powerful. And the last thing is sharing gratitude. When you get something you're excited about, you want to share it with people. You want to tell other people. It's like I just said, that best or worst news. You want to share it with people. I would ask to think about, what do you think your purpose is? What is your legacy? All these people have died on me. I'm hoping my purpose, my legacy, is just to make a difference in one life every day, maybe two, some number, more than zero. But it's a good question, and back to that 1 in 19. Do you think you're the 1 or do you think you're the 19? The 20 people, you ask them to do something, 1 seems to do it, 19 don't. Well, which are you? I'll let you answer that for yourself. But I will tell you, when you go out to your cars today, you'll notice the windshield's about this deep, about this wide, pretty good size. And then the rear view mirror is about like this. I would suggest you keep it in that proportion. Mostly pay attention to what's in front of you. Keep an eye a little bit behind you. Now, if there's blue lights flashing, you got to pull over. And I think that the humility piece is so important as well. As I mentioned, those that have the red paper, if you feel you have the most, bring it up to me. And I've got the 50 gratitude nuggets to chew on. Well, I was like all proud of myself because I wrote a book and I've done a journal and some things. And I thought that'd be a really cool thing to do. And then about 3 or 4 months ago, I had a smaller group, and so she had the most pieces of red paper. So they chose her. So she comes up front and they all go, Sally Smith. She clapped and I say, here's your book. So she walks up to the front of the room, I give her the book. And as she's starting to walk away, I said, you know, if you'd like, later I'll sign that for you. She goes, that's okay. I said, I don't think I'm that special. I'm just trying to give you something that would be, I want my signature. It's okay. I'm not John Grisham, I get it. But you never know. But when you share gratitude, it's really about understanding the value that you have in somebody else's life. And if you find something that's powerful, if it changes one life and so forth. So years ago, I had an idea to go skydiving. So I never did the drugs and all that nonsense, as I said, but I always had kind of an adrenaline thing. So I got 7 of us together. Brook, party of 8. I made the reservation in Issaquah. And as it got closer, there were 7 of us. And then there was 6. And 5. And 4. And then it got down to 3 about the Wednesday before that Saturday. And I got a call that afternoon from one of the third guys. Are you okay? No, I have a sore throat. So you can't make it on Saturday? Yeah, I can. So I get there Saturday. Just me. I walk in, Brook, party of 8. He goes, where's your friend? I don't have any. As I mentioned, I don't particularly, I'm not a big fan of PowerPoint. I like to be able to look at people, but I do have a picture of me jumping out of the airplane going like this. It's scary. All by myself. Nobody to share it with. So, one last exercise, and we're going to wrap up in about 5-10 minutes. I just want you to take 2 minutes to share something with the person next to you that because you shared it, made it so much more valuable. I'll give you 2 minutes. Same part as you used last time. Stop, please. We're going to do one more quick thing. Hopefully you guys shared something that was maybe because it was shared, it was so much better. This is going to be, I'm going to be done in about 5 minutes, but I want to ask you a question here. This requires brutal honesty. How many people here use their cell phone during my presentation? It's okay. At least you're honest. How many people here have a cell phone? Almost everybody. I want you to take it out. You have another 2 minutes. Those of you that already had your cell phone accessible, it's easy for you right here. You've got 2 minutes to text, tweet, telephone, or tell somebody in your life how great you are for them. 2 minutes, go. I don't care if you use the thing called a phone, text, tweet, telephone, or tell. See you later. Whoever it is, to let them know how grateful they are. If you're talking to them, what, just some speaker guy told me to do this. Okay, perfect.
That'll work.
Okay, stop. You got to text those people later, telephone. Actually saw a couple of people actually using the phone function of the cell phone, which is really cool. Last thing. Thank you so much for being a great audience. I do have some books and journals and business cards and flyers over here if you're interested in me speaking to groups or people that you know, so thank you in advance for that. But as I said, for the one last recap, embracing gratitude. It takes as long as it takes. Don't ever give up. Make room for gratitude. Clear out your brain. Get a gratitude journal and share gratitude. I learned how to fly when I was in my late 20s. I was very proud of learning how to be a pilot. And I was a VFR pilot. I still fly occasionally, not as much as they did back then. But you're supposed to be out of the clouds. You're not supposed to be in the clouds. That's an instrument rating. And I got caught down by ocean shores between two cloud layers. And I was in between them. And I went, oh, I got to get out of here. This is not right. I could get in real trouble. Another plane could be there, everything else. The sun comes in from the ocean and hits these two cloud layers. I'm just hanging on for dear life. My eyes are like this. And it's like one of those scenes out of 2001: A Space Odyssey. And all this color is coming at me. And I've never seen anything like it. And it's probably maybe 30 seconds, a minute long. And then, bam, I pop out of it. And I'm back out over the water again. And I turned to my right and went, was that the coolest thing? Did you see those blues, the greens, the silver, the red, the flashes of light? It was like flames and fire and all this. And I'm going, isn't that the cool? Oh, I was flying by myself. Nobody ever got to see that. One of the coolest things I've ever seen. So it just reminded me, make sure when you're passionate about something, helping other people, you want to help yourself, help others, share with them. Share gratitude. I feel it's a phenomenally healthy coping mechanism. It's extremely, extremely healthy in this world of all these deadly, destructive ones. It can change your life. It can transform your life. And in my case, I feel it saved my life. And it can save yours too. Thanks a lot.
So while you're going up, you can do this because I know you need to get to other workshops. You can come and talk to David, but I have a list of names here for books that we're giving away, and also at the end 2